This week on his radio show, Howard Stern defended wokeism, saying it's a compliment when someone calls him woke. Listen.
If woke means I can't get behind Trump, which is what I think it means, or that I support people who want to be transgender, or I'm for the vaccine, dude, call me woke as you want. I'm not for stupidity, but I am woke, motherfucker, and I love it.
Oh dear, he swore. He swore that'll win over the woke. He's a regular Huey Newton of the Hamptons.
Well, I watch, I know some of them, and like Howard, I was on Howard Stern's show as much as anybody, and he was great at that time, and then he went woke.
Yeah.
And since he's gone woke, his ratings have...
Howard Stern didn't just sell out. He practically threw a farewell party for his legacy, complete with balloons and self-delusion. Greg Gutfeld brought the sarcasm. Donald Trump brought the demolition kit. And together, they shredded what remained of Stern's former glory. Once a fire starter in the world of controversy, Stern has now become a background extra in his own narrative. Safe, soft, and shockingly dull. Gutfeld's jabs are sharp and deliberate. Trump barrels through with chaotic amusement. Their tag team takedown turns Stern's evolution from rebel to relic into an unmissable spectacle. This isn't a comeback. It's stand-up disguised as an obituary.
Well, it is weird because he criticizes Trump for dividing the country, and then he says he hates his supporters. So he's not learning from his own analysis. I think he might have turned into the thing he hated. He needs to go back and watch the movie Private Parts and focus on how he portrayed Don Imus, because he's kind of turned into Don Imus in a way. It's a mix of ego and resentment.
Howard Stern, he's a weak guy. He's weak. He's going, what about, it was so ridiculous. Even she was embarrassed. It was like softball.
Howard Stern, once the self-proclaimed king of all media, has now tragically crowned himself the king of public meltdowns and self-contradiction. It's almost unbelievable to witness a man who once built an empire by launching verbal Molotov cocktails at authority figures, now acting like a fragile suburban ant who flinches at every independent voice. He no longer challenges norms. He hosts tea parties with them. If irony had a stock market, Howard would be the runaway investor, printing absurdity faster than the Fed during the height of a pandemic crisis. This is the same man who once growled at conformity's throat, yet now moonwalks gleefully into every mainstream narrative, as if trying out for a walk-on role in a CNN fluff segment nobody asked for.
But that's how Stern can call snacking with celebs at a fancy restaurant exhausting. Exhausting. Like he finished the overnight shift in a coal mine. Or hearing Kat talk about her pets.
Fair.
But I get it, life is tough, especially when you've been cut off from the world for 2 years in a $20 million beach house. I mean, you have no idea how tiring it is walking all the way from the wine cellar to the tennis court and back.
See, Greg Gutfeld didn't even need a full-blown monologue to tear apart the watered-down version of Howard Stern we see today. Just a mirror would have sufficed. A single reflection where Howard stares at the raw, rebellious firebrand he once was and compares it to the sanitized, corporate-friendly figure he's morphed into. This isn't evolution. It's a complete operating system reboot, coded in fear, hypocrisy, social anxiety, and excessive hand sanitizer. Then enters Trump. Subtle? Never. He storms in wielding the verbal equivalent of a sledgehammer, duct taped to a bald eagle with attitude. Watching Trump mention Stern now feels like a legendary rock star chuckling at the guy running playlists at a cousin's wedding. There's no rage, just disbelief mixed with a dash of pity.
The opposite of woke to me is asleep, and I think I'm awake. This must have gotten Trump all charged up, because at 3 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, technically Sunday morning, He starts tweeting out, Howard Stern is a broken loser, jerk off, not loyal, the usual, tirade. And I thought to myself, I'll tell you my thought on it was, what?
Stern went from being the guy who fearlessly pushed every button in the building to the guy who politely asks for permission before pressing the microwave one at lunchtime. Remember when Howard was so edgy, his presence made late-night hosts sweat and sent radio executives into full damage control mode? Those days feel like ancient history now. Today, he makes Joy Behar seem like a rebellious stand-up comic, performing at a no-rules biker rally in the desert. Stern's no longer a disruptor. He's been sanded down, overly polished, pre-approved by PR, and tightly shrink-wrapped like a fragile collectible you'd never dare open without gloves on.
Stern hit a chic restaurant in NYC with a crew of A-listers, including Jimmy Kimmel, Jennifer Aniston, John Hamm, Justin Theroux, Jason Bateman. I was not invited. I guess because my first name doesn't begin with the letter J.
Greg Gutfeld highlights Stern's dramatic arc, the way a sharp comedian tears into the hollow virtue signaling of a Hollywood award show monologue. This was the rebel, he scoffs. The same guy who once roasted celebrities for their delusional detachment is now grinning and handing out autographs on the exact same yacht decks he once ridiculed. Stern built his name dragging egos through the mud. Now, he practically offers to hold their towels. Today's Stern isn't bold. He's visibly spooked by cancel culture, as if a digital mob is camped outside his mansion window, armed with hashtags, think pieces, and virtual torches. The roar has become a nervous whisper.
Howard, I knew him very well. I was on the show many times. I used to think he was good. Then I dropped him, and I dropped him like a dog. And his ratings are very challenged. Very challenged.
Which, to be fair, might actually be true. But the Howard Stern of the past wouldn't have blinked. That guy would have hit the mic, dared the mob to come for him, and doubled down with a grin. Today's version? He'll issue a nervous pre-apology for a joke that hasn't even formed in his head yet. This isn't personal growth. It's intellectual shrinkage. It's Benjamin Button's PR arc, playing in reverse and stuck on repeat. Meanwhile, Trump watches Stern's unraveling with the casual amusement of a lion observing a declawed house cat meowing at full volume. He doesn't need to strike. His very existence sends Stern spiraling into scripted, anxious meltdowns. Howard is now so petrified of offending anyone that he probably wouldn't toast bread without a signed statement from the gluten-free community. And then there's Gutfeld, armed with the smugness of 10 tenured Ivy League professors and the late-night sarcasm of a barstool philosopher who's read just enough to be dangerous. He shreds Stern's new identity like a one-dimensional sitcom character written by a committee of interns. Gutfeld's critique doesn't stop at phony. He calls Stern boring, which in the brutal world of media is a far greater crime than lying. At least liars entertain. Stern now is just a rerun of tired regrets and neutered rebellion. It's almost tragic watching someone who once symbolized raw, unapologetic radio chaos become the self-appointed hall monitor of woke approval. This is a man who used to bulldoze through taboos, and now he won't even cross a quiet street unless Twitter gives him the green light. Stern hasn't just sold out. He's knitting sweaters for the very rules he once spit on.
Also, vote for that wall over there.
Well, he's half right. We do need a wall. To keep out gang members, fentanyl dealers, human traffickers, and Anna Navarro. What's funny, though, is that Stern actually thought that was a compliment. Stern has become such a wussified sycophant, he doesn't realize that telling Kamala that he'd vote for a wall is telling her that he knows she's as dumb as one.
Gutfeld, wearing his signature smirk like armor, jokes that Howard's microphone should now come equipped with a seatbelt, a sensitivity disclaimer, and an apology manual just to get through a segment. Every broadcast sounds like it's been filtered through 3 legal departments and a nervous corporate HR rep. And don't even get started on his interviews. Once wild, raw, and unpredictable, they're now so sanitized and scripted, you'd think he was cautiously interrogating bacteria in a pharmaceutical clean room. Meanwhile, Trump chimes in from wherever he is. A golf course, a rally, a plane, lobbing casual insults like grenades without even breaking his rhythm. To him, Howard Stern isn't a threat or a rival, just another faded media figure scrambling for attention by clinging to the very establishment he used to roast mercilessly. Trump doesn't even need a punchline. All he has to do is mention Howard's latest friends, alliances, or guest lists, and the absurdity speaks for itself. The hypocrisy is loud enough to cause laughter without effort. Let's be real. Stern used to mock these exact types. Now he's whining, dining, and Instagramming them. He's gone from the Roastmaster General to a roach motel for recycled Hollywood narratives and safe zone talking points. He once bit every hand in the room. Today, he's licking boots. And not even the custom leather elite kind, just the standard issue mass-produced ones you find in the discount aisle of the approval industrial complex. The rebellion is gone. What's left is a perfectly polished broadcast mannequin mouthing acceptable thoughts.
Kat, I find that his definition of wokeism is very simplistic. I mean, it's like, it's not about COVID jabs.
I didn't get that either. He was like, I love the vaccine. I'm woke.
It's not unlike Howard Stern. I mean, talk about a transition. On Tuesday, he conducted an interview with Kamala Harris that was so simpering and feminine, I got my period while listening to it.
And the real kicker? Howard actually still thinks he's the rebel. He walks around with this delusion that simply saying, I used to be wild, magically restores his street cred. Like some guy in a leather jacket at a retirement home, endlessly retelling war stories no one remembers, much less cares about. Meanwhile, Greg Gutfeld is slicing through Howard's ego with surgical precision, scalpel in one hand, punchline in the other, and zero hesitation. And why should he hold back? Stern practically scripts his own parody at this point. This is the man who once defined uncensored radio. Now he filters his thoughts through a pre-show approval board like a nervous intern prepping a TED Talk. It's like watching a once iconic punk band reunite for a cruise ship gig doing elevator music. Sure, the names are the same, but the soul, the danger, the energy, all gone, buried under layers of political correctness and brand-safe content. Trump, ever amused, doesn't even need to try. He just watches, occasionally smirking, occasionally shrugging. Because Stern's downward evolution isn't threatening, it's entertaining. It's like watching someone desperately cosplay their old self, clinging to relevance with both hands, while everything that once made them compelling was abandoned a decade ago. Trump could sneeze mid-interview and generate more raw controversy than a month's worth of Howard's neutered, sanitized monologues. And don't even mention ratings. Stern's numbers used to make TV execs drool with envy. Now, they're buried on page 27 of a quarterly slide deck no one in the meeting reads. The audience didn't vanish. They just grew up and realized the rebel they admired was faking it all along. Howard didn't lose his fans. He ghosted them for a shinier table at the celebrity dinner circuit and a 5-star Yelp review from people he used to mock on air.
Even when I watch them on Saturday Night Live with the where they have Maya Rudolph playing you, I hate it. I don't want you being made fun of.
Oh my God.
There's too much at stake. I believe the entire future of this country right now, I mean, as America, land of the free, home of the brave. I think it's literally on the line.
So a guy who's supposed to be funny for a living now claims her candidacy is too important to joke about. This is a guy who once joked right after the Columbine massacre that the killers should have raped the students before killing them. Not that I like that term.
Greg Gutfeld closes the segment with the kind of comedic napalm that only lands when it's drenched in undeniable truth. He's not just mocking Howard Stern's fall from grace, he's pointing out the crater it left behind. When the loudest, most unfiltered voice in media suddenly starts whispering like a nervous intern, the silence isn't just noticeable, it's almost tragic. Howard used to shake the table. Now he triple checks if it's properly set. He used to challenge the system. Now he updates his opinions like they're software patches. The man whose unpredictability once made him legendary is now so safe, so scripted, you could sync your smart home devices to his emotional meltdowns. And that panic? It's no longer just in his voice. It bleeds into every decision he makes. He's surrounded himself with corporate approval, echo chambers, legacy media nods, and a wall of yes men whose only job is to protect the brand, not the voice. Stern doesn't want to inform, inspire, or provoke anymore. He just wants to blend in with the velvet rope crowd. And for a man who once thrived on standing out like a middle finger in a boardroom, that's not evolution. That's extinction in slow motion. Trump? He doesn't even blink. Because really, what's Howard gonna do? Lecture him? That's like a deflated balloon trying to shame a tank. One honest sentence from Trump and Stern would be drifting helplessly into the cultural abyss, gripping his faded ego like it's a flotation device from 2002. The old Howard would have torched this entire moment, firing off reckless truths and laughing in the chaos. The new Howard? He's nervously checking in with his producer to ask if he's even allowed to form a mildly edgy opinion. This isn't transformation. It's a character eraser, the slow, sad death of a voice that once roared.
It is incredibly brave to take this stance after you've made $300, $400 million not being woke, right? Loving Donald Trump, exploiting the mentally ill, wearing blackface. Look at the crop of woke comics, whether it's Stern or Jimmy Kimmel, his BFF, Sarah Silverman, Joy Behar, Michael Ian Black. What do they all have in common? They wore blackface. And then they went woke. It's not a chicken or egg thing there. You know what order it came. So I call this BFR. It's blackface reparations. There's nothing in Stern's previous career that could withstand this modern witch hunt that he now embraces.
Every time Stern tries to claw back some semblance of relevance, Greg Gutfeld is right there, serving as the unflinching scoreboard to Howard's tired rerun. He reminds everyone what Stern once was and what he ultimately sold out to become, a faded shadow of his former rebellious self. Because here's the hard truth. Once you transform into the very thing you once swore to destroy, the only followers left are the ones who never really knew the real you to begin with. Howard isn't evolving. He's desperately camouflaging himself. And doing it badly. Even chameleons change colors with more conviction and flair. Stern is scrambling to stay on the right side of history by attempting to rewrite his own legacy. But history comes with undeniable receipts, and Gutfeld isn't shy about reading them aloud, page by page, hypocrisy by hypocrisy, with brutal clarity. Trump, he's the indelible footnote Howard wishes he could erase, but just keeps trending no matter what. The once fearless, boundary-pushing voice of rebellion has been reduced to an echo chamber cushioned with premium hair conditioner. Howard used to aim shots at celebrities. Now he's their designated driver, the guy making sure everyone gets home safe. He used to throw punches. Now he throws carefully curated, sanitized parties. Gutfeld lands the ultimate insult, not by saying Howard is wrong, but by exposing that he's become boring. For a man who built an empire on shock, awe, and unpredictability, turning into a beige, filtered, brand-safe version of yourself is the kind of betrayal that even your most die-hard fans can't unsee or forgive.